All right, welcome to Wednesday. We'll kick off with some discussion on markets today. Hop into BTC, ETH, anything else that's of interest. Interesting day today because today is FOMC. Anybody that doesn't know FOMC, it's basically an insight into the Fed approaches and what they think of the current climate. And it's always a very volatile event for traditional markets. So we'll see that represented in the Nasdaq, in the SPX, etc. throughout today. There will definitely be volatility on those sides. Now what this tends to look like for us is we tend to see a lot of whipsaw action. So what I mean by whipsaw action is, we'll very quickly advance one direction, we'll reverse it, we'll go the other direction and back again. And the reason is that people, retail participants primarily, like to hedge their positions during FOMC times to try and take advantage of, the volatility, to try and determine, which way a larger move may play out. So people may take both a long and a short position into FOMC, and what the market likes to do very, very often is it likes to basically rip both sides out. So it likes to take out shorters, take out longs, and then it will make up its mind on the direction. There is an impact into crypto. We tend to see that, especially if we have any inflation discussions today. We may see a larger impact into crypto and the thought process in crypto. So something to be aware of. So that's going to be hitting at around 7 o'clock my time tonight. That's 8 p.m. Europe, and then whatever burger time that is. So that's what to be aware of, is that, regardless of the price action today, the same on the Nasdaq now, this is all gesturing, positioning, posturing, because the real moves will be taking place later on today. What we see on the Nasdaq at the moment is a very strong open into the US session and starting to retrace the full move now. As we can see here on the hourly, this is the US open candle here, the last half an hour of this candle, and straight into this hourly, which is rejecting very nicely off the top side of that. So pretty nice movement today for the Nas. Nothing really to be decided on that until much later on today. Crypto will be affected. Like I said, crypto will definitely be affected by this price action. So we see today, we've got COPE that's up. There was an announcement by Siri about a burn, so that's why COPE is up on the day. Everything else pretty much red across the board. Some that are holding a green neutral. Some like Alchemix, which are down substantially. So I think there's some issues with the product itself for Alchemix, which has caused this 20% sell-off, and the rest of the market just pretty much hanging red. Now BTC is giving us a relatively nice picture here. So this was the trend line we looked at yesterday. We looked at this trend line across the top here, and very, very important thing that came from this yesterday. So we have to be adaptive. Okay, we have to be adaptive when we trade. If you're looking at playing this as a level, all right, as a breakout trade. So let's say you're looking at playing this top diagonal that we looked at in yesterday's video, and we said, look, there's two diagonals here. Got one at the bottom, one at the top, and we need to wait for one of them to break. Now what happened is we broke the one, and we moved up very aggressively into the 41,500-ish area, and then we rejected substantially. You have to be adaptive in these trades. So when we're trading breakout trades like this, in positions like this, we have to be adaptive. We have to take our profit, and we have to be able to roll and move on to things, okay? So what we see here is a breakout of the top. We could take profit on the expansion to the upside, because remember, we'd ideally be doing this on a slightly lower time frame. So we take some profit off on the expansion to the upside. There's still a healthy move captured in here. Right, we get at least probably a couple of percent from this. Yeah, 1.5%-ish if we take the highs. So we get a decent move on BTC from this region. What we also get is a very clear indication that this is not going to work as a breakout. So once we get this candle here on this hourly, we have to get out the position. So if you are long from a breakout play here, this is your signal to get out. And the reason that this is your signal is that this is a comprehensive sweep now of this. It's a very clear failure point. And it is absolutely not the expectation you would have if this was to be a clear breakout movement. So either you just take a scratch on this loss, and you take a loss, on this trade. Okay, you just take a loss, and you have to close on this candle, because the reaction from it is what we would expect to see the opposite direction. So we have to be adaptive. Okay, If you didn't take profit, you have to close position, and then you get the reaction to the downside. If you want to be super fluid, you can even play into this aggressively to the downside. So what you can say is, well, this is a failed breakout attempt. This is a clear sweep now of this high. This has transitioned to a bearish scenario. I'm going to short this. And that would have worked out pretty well down to this point here today. So just need to make sure we can adapt and we can change the situation we're seeing. We then saw this bottom trend line. I don't even know why this is still on here, to be honest with you. I left this in, and it matches up with this price action that happened underneath. But the most important thing is this horizontal in here now. This level here is the most important. We can see here clear resistance. Excuse me. We can see clear resistance here, and then obviously big support region through here. All right, so got those clear support regions. Fuck. All right. So anything that comes up here now, we'd be looking for any bearish retests here, and then potentially a sell-off, and then looking back down towards that 37,000 level that we see underneath on BTC. For now, kind of forming this aggressive range up here. I would expect this cluster of lows here to be taken. What have I loaded here? Rectangle. Yeah, so I would expect this cluster of lows here to be taken. We're not quite there yet. So I would expect BTC to pop down here and clear out this region. And then we'll wait and see whether or not this forms a range, or whether or not we're going to dip down even lower into the 37s. So for now, it's kind of like wait and see in this region again. We're just entering like tighter chop. So here we had an entry point. Here we had a signal we could action. Here is slightly more awkward. If we are looking for anything, it's going to primarily be the short position. We're going to be looking at taking from here, right, with a stop loss here, and then target of somewhere down here into the 37s if we get that upside move first. If we get the downside move first and we take out these lows by coming down here, then we're going to be watching for the reaction back at this level here. And if you're hyper aggressive, then you can maybe try and play a long position from a sweep of any of those lows and recovery back inside with a nice tight stop, and then a target probably of the highs. Now the reason that I don't like that play is because we know that on a larger time frame perspective, this is now taking out the highs. We know that these highs have been compromised here. This was a really good sweep play, and that now we would expect some lows to be tapped again in line with this wider range that we're looking at. And I really want to highlight the importance here of something that I've been going on about for a long time, which is you have to accept that this is a range. So all those people that got super bullish and super nervous and felt the FOMO on this move higher, it's all irrelevant now because we're dipping back down again. So very, very important that we keep this shit in mind, because otherwise, I know that there was feelings of panic because I can see it in chat. I know there's feelings of shit, I'm underexposed. I don't have any exposure to Bitcoin. I don't have any exposure to alts. And 2 days later, we've fallen out of a support level again. We're back under 40,000, and things are a little bit more unknown again, right? All of that FOMO is suddenly dissipated as we're thinking, well, I don't know what the next move is going to be again. So you really have to fight those feelings in the moment. ETH. Coming back down now to an interesting area, reacted far worse than BTC so far. Pretty strong sell-offs on ETH. Coming back down now here to this interesting region. Certainly an area that we've seen hold up previously, and even to the left-hand side, we can see hold up through this region. Oversold on the RSI, so definitely responded worse than BTC so far. But, maybe dips into 2400. Just more awkward. This is that mid-range daily point. We still haven't managed to get back above that. We cleared this. We swept the highs here. That's a bearish action in itself. And now potentially the lows will be back on the cards again, down here for ETH and down here for ETH. So, not a great situation as ETH suddenly starts breaking through this level when I'm on stream. So not a good overall look for ETH at the moment. Yeah, and BTC starting to struggle. How's the NAS looking? Yeah, okay. So interesting wider market picture, but nothing, nothing screams strength right now. I wouldn't be trying to long this. I still think it's weak. I still think, you know, we'll get into the 37s. This is going to be the sweep of this region, so let's stay with it a second. I'll keep the recording going, and we'll just monitor how this goes, because this may be a good opportunity for us to discuss. We'll keep the lows in mind here, and this is what we're looking for the reaction from. We're looking for the reaction to these lows here. So we're probably looking for one more push down on BTC, probably looking for one more sweep down into this level. We've got the potential for a 15-minute divergence here if we get that. The number of candles in here are fine for us. So we are now just looking to see what the reaction will be if BTC makes the sweep down at these lows. Just catching up on a few things on Discord while I... Alright, so we'll wait here. You guys know what I'm looking for. Right, this low. Let's just wait. Fuck, why there's no point me going anywhere. I'm just gonna watch this if I get off video anyway. So we're looking for a sweep. We need to see that low taken out down here. Let's mark it with a ray so it's a little bit clearer for us. We know the 15-minute divergence is going to be a thing. These are the last of the lows here. And that's what we're looking to be taken with a recovery. And then once we get that 15-minute divergence, I want you to think about where would our target position be. So if we swept this level, and we swept the lows here, let's say we wanted to get into an aggressive scalp long position. Like, where do you think the target would be? And just kind of, you know, I'll leave the screen like this for a second and think about, we'd have a 15-minute bull div. Where do you think we'd like a target to potentially be on BTC? Alright, that's long enough for thinking. In this situation here, we'd be looking at playing a div back up to resistance, which is the red box. That's primarily what we'd look at. And the reason that we'd look at that is because that's still a substantial move for us. You know, so if we consider what that would be for us through here. That's 2.6% move, 2.6% bounce. That's a really good bounce play. We wouldn't get overly bullish because we're still downtrending, and there's no reason to be bullish in a region like this. We've got a potential for a support region for the range, and this is a lower time frame range, not the wider range. But there would be no reason for us to become overly bullish and assume that a 15-minute divergence is suddenly going to lead to higher highs. It would be a good opportunity to try and take a long play into the resistance level. But that's really the way that we would consider this region. We wouldn't get overly bullish. We just look at taking it up to the red box, and that would be the play. And what we'd want to do is we'd want to wait for a little bit of price action to develop so we can have an invalidation point represented on the chart. And what I mean by that is, we'd want to have an invalidation that, if we're trying to enter as close to here as possible, we need to wait for some price action to establish at the low. And it's not going to take that long. Let me switch that back. Okay, so then we can have a nice stopping point underneath here. We can say here's our stop. We're going to build an entry here, or maybe even higher with a stop loss here, and then look at rallying. So I'm going to pause there. We'll see how this transpires, and I'll come back in a little bit and see what this looks like. But my wife's just got home, so it's a good opportunity for me to take off, grab some food, and chill out until FOMC a little bit later on. So this is the setup, and I'll come back and see how well this worked later on, and I'll post some visual updates in the chat after we've seen a resolution down here. To be honest with you, like, this sweep already here is enough for this cluster of lows, so maybe that's it. But again, just waiting and watching in this region. 50-minute bull div developing. Good luck today. Enjoy. Hope the trading goes well, and I'll catch up a little bit later on.